Hey guys, welcome back to Ripe for Investing. It's been quite some time. I think I calculated it's been almost like 7 months. I think the last time I posted on here was February. I was broadcasting from Nashville. Sorry about that. I've just been super busy. I've been trying to learn some new skills, some new technology and stuff, and so that's taken up a lot of my time. And then I have another YouTube channel that's actually going quite well, and a lot of my efforts have been there. And I created some new websites, so just lots of content on other places. So I haven't had a whole lot of time to keep this going, but I'm going to do my best and try to swing back into things. And so what I want to do today is talk about my favorite investment right now. As you probably already know, the stock market has been going down, crypto market, pretty much everything. Even the real estate market is finally starting to show signs of slowing a little bit. There's a little house here in the neighborhood that's been on the market for almost 2 months now, and back in 2021 that sucker would have probably been gone in a week. So I can see it physically here where I'm at in the southeast as well. But I want to talk about 6-month Treasury bills, which are actually my favorite investment right now, and I've actually been buying. So it's a fixed income investment, and right now they're paying 3.8%, so almost 4%. That's pretty darn good considering it's basically a risk-free kind of vehicle for you. So if you got a checking account like I do, I have a account at a credit union. It's paying like 2% right now, and then in order to get that 2%, I've got a couple things I have to do even. So these are beating out like a checking account. Now, I don't recommend like throwing your entire emergency fund into one of these 6-month Treasury bills, because emergency can happen whenever. So you want to keep your emergency fund in your checking account or somewhere that you have immediate access to. So that's not what we're talking about. This for me is cash that is beyond what I consider my emergency fund, if you will. So extra cash, right? One of the advantages of the 6-month Treasury bill versus the I bonds, which are a really hot item right now, is that there's really no lockup period. So, we call it a 6-month or a 26-week Treasury bill here, but you could actually sell the bond before it comes to maturity. Now, we're hopefully going to hold it to maturity, and then we don't have to worry about any risk. But I bonds paying like 9.62%, but you've really got to hold that a year plus 3 months in order to get your interest rate right. And another cool thing about this that I will say that kind of beats out the I-bond hassle, if you will, is that it just deposits whatever you earn directly into your bank account. So you don't have to like physically go in there and tell it to do anything, right? So that's kind of a nice little thing there. So let's get into some of the pros of the 6-month Treasury bill and talk about this. Number one, if you live in a very high tax state, like let's say California, this is going to be a great deal for you because they're state tax free. I live in a state where the state tax is like 5.75%, so it's not that bad. But if you live in a place like California, this could really be good for you, so you can avoid those terrible state taxes, right? Also, number two, you have a guaranteed return. So there's no risk really, as long as you hold it to maturity and the government doesn't collapse, which, I think is a pretty slim chance of that happening. Another advantage to this thing is that you're basically getting a better interest rate than your checking or savings account. We've already went over this. Now, there's some CDs out there that are topping like 3% and so forth, but when you take into account that you have to pay state taxes on that CD, then usually this Treasury bill is going to beat out your CD, if you will. Okay, so what are some cons to this? Well, number one, you may not beat out inflation. But let's talk a little bit more about that, because I think there's some misunderstandings with this. When they talk about 8 or 9% inflation, that's really not your inflation rate. You might want to go check out like how much your expenses have went up. Personally, mine have not went up 8 or 9%, but I work from home and I don't do a lot of driving, and I live a pretty low maintenance lifestyle, let's just say. And also, that's a backward looking number. You don't know what the inflation is going to be in the future, so we can't predict that the inflation is going to be 8 or 9% from here. So it is a little bit of a play on inflation, though, because if you think inflation is going higher and higher, then maybe you wouldn't buy one of these, but here we are. We can't really predict the future, if you will. You don't know what the inflation rate is going to be. Number two is it's only for 6 months. It's locked up. So if you buy today and then for some crazy reason, maybe the Treasury bill goes up to 4.5% tomorrow, well, you're now locked in at a lower rate. You could, of course, sell, but then you would be losing money. That's a very unlikely scenario. It probably will increase, or so, but it's not going to be like gigantic increases. So that's one. Number 3, of course, is opportunity cost, which is the money that you put into this may have been better off being in equities, and maybe the equity market comes rallying here at the end of the year. At the same time, we can look at the opposite and say, well, if you had this money in the equity market at the beginning of the year, right now you're down almost like 20% or worse, right, in some people's cases. Another disadvantage, in my opinion, is that you don't see the interest monthly or on a schedule other than the 6 months. So it's not like you're earning passive income every month, okay? So just keep that in mind. All right, where to buy these things? Number 1, the place that a lot of people don't like is the Treasury Direct. I personally think the website is antiquated. It's out of date a little bit, but once you get it rolling, it's not that big of a deal. I don't see what the big holdup is. People have had some issues. I had to change my bank account, so I've been through that. It was not that big of a deal. I recommend the Treasury Direct. The only disadvantage to purchasing it through the Treasury Direct is that they don't have an auction every day. So you put the order in, and it may be 5 days or 3 days before your order goes in. You're not really going to know the interest rate you're getting until then. You can also buy it through a brokerage like Fidelity. The advantages there is you can sell it on a secondary market, and then you will know exactly what rate you're getting. From what I understand, you can take your Treasury bill that you bought at the Treasury Direct and transfer it to a broker and sell if you want to sell before maturity. But once again, if you know that you might want to do that, you're probably just better off buying it through a broker. I personally, I know I'm going to hold it to maturity, so that doesn't matter to me. So I just buy it through Treasury Direct, and I think it's great because the interest rate or whatever you're earning comes directly into your bank account, if you will. When might you want to buy one of these Treasury bills? Who is this for, right? This would be good if you see yourself putting a down payment on a car or house or whatever, maybe a home remodeling in 6 months or something. So you have a timeline, a shorter timeline of 6 months to maybe a year, and then you can just ladder these Treasury bills and so forth. Maybe I'll do a video about bond laddering, but you can buy a 6-month Treasury and then another one in 6 months and just kind of keep them rolling, if you will. And another good thing about that Treasury Direct, and I think they do this at Fidelity, is you can set it up to auto invest. So at the end of 6 months, you just buy another one. You can do this for up to 2 years on Treasury Direct. Another thing you can do is you can kind of what I call front load your loan. So I have a car loan, I think God's almost paid off at 3%. And so this interest rate is higher than that. So rather than pay down the car loan, which I could, I just put it into this, and then it accumulates, and then I'm kind of getting ahead of my loan. That's kind of really why we're in this inflation scenario. They're kind of inflating away the debt, if you will. So that's part of it. Next thing is number 3, for those of you that like passive income, this is passive income diversification. So I personally like having pieces of my portfolio in fixed income. I have risk by having individual stocks. I have mutual funds. I have very small amount of crypto left. I have some other things like comic books, collectibles, but this is a very given, almost risk-free return on passive income that I know exactly how much I'll be getting. So it kind of helps me plan out. And I'm not taking this money yet and paying bills with it, maybe one day, but it helps me get on this cycle. So when I do retire, I can kind of have an idea of how this might go with some passive income and this sort of stuff coming in. I think it's good to just kind of experience it. Well, that's all I've got from Ripe for Investing today. I know things are getting a little choppy and rough in the stock market. I just, stay the course. We'll get through this. It's not the first time. This is not our first rodeo here, at least not for me. I've been through 2008 and all those things. So 2020. So we're still here and kicking. I know it can be a little rough, but just stay the course and keep doing what you're doing, and we'll get through this. And wish you the best with your investing. Take care.